Welcome to another episode of Adaptacanvas. And we're back after the holiday break, straight back into the creative topics. And welcome to everybody who is joining. We're a little bit later today, 7 p.m. I know people were out today in the sun. So, thank you for all for showing up. How have you been? What's been going on? How's things evolving? Let me know. Put something in the chat. Let me know what's been going on, what you've been up to. I've been offline for 2 weeks. But we're back tonight. And we've got an interesting subject matter. And plenty of time to think about a lot of things while I was away. But first, before we dive in, if you haven't already, join the newsletter community. Links in the bio. If you're on Facebook, the link is the pinned link. Thanks everybody again for tuning in. Let's dive into tonight's show. I want to talk about this thing that kind of came to me while I was away and through conversations with a couple of my people who I've been coaching as well. And this whole idea that people are playing within the phrase was playing within the boundaries of the illusion of the game. And what do I mean by that? Think about it. If you're a creative, what's your job? Right? Is to create new ideas, is to create new projects, new businesses, new things, new products, new services that your audience hasn't seen, right? What stops people from doing that? Well, there's this limitation. One of the things that I hear people say is I'm stuck, or I'm blocked, or I'm hitting the ceiling. These are all terms that we use that are based on, majority of this is based on perception from other people. If you think about where our limitations come from, we learn this at a very young age. You grow up in an environment, the people around you, normally your parents, they're acting and behaving in a certain way. And if they've grown up in that similar environment, they're passing on their beliefs, their patterns, their habits to you, to me, right? To us. And depending on who they are and what they do, if they're super successful, whatever that means, if they're good at solving problems, if they're good at getting the lifestyle they want, and you pick up on those habits, then great. But imagine if they're not. Imagine if they're not problem solvers, if they're not good at getting the lifestyle they want. What do you pick up on, right? And when we're between the age of 1 and 7, we are imitating the people around us. We copy what they do. That's how we learn. So imagine learning these habits and patterns and behaviors from the people around us, and then you get to 20, 30, 40 and you're trying to create this lifestyle you want, but it's not working. Why? It's because your programs and your habits and the things that you think are this thing that gets you what you want in life is the patterns of behaviors you got from your parents or from school or even from business environment. There's a disconnect. We've believed that this is what life is, but it isn't. And so we're trying to do this thing. We don't have the right mindset. We don't have the right skills. We don't have the right patterns. And we're limited. Right? We are stuck. We're stuck in other people's ways of thinking. And so this becomes this sort of deep-seated, rooted problem, issue that becomes, and you might have said this before, right? This is who I am. Right? And it's not who you are. It's just a program. Right? But the program makes us feel like this is who I am. This is what, and who I believe that I can be. But it's somebody else's idea. Because each and every one of us has this incredible potential if we could learn how to tap into it. And one of the ways to start tapping into it is to start breaking the myths, start breaking away the deception, the patterns and the habits that we've inherited that we don't even know is the truth. Right, that's the thing, because we haven't tested it enough. Most of us don't know how to test it. We have these boundaries that we push up against. As soon as it feels uncomfortable, we recoil into something that's more comfortable. And so we don't actually know how to test the boundaries. We don't really do it consistently enough to get through it. And most of the time when we do get through it, we get afraid and we end up going back to where we're most comfortable. Right? Today, I want to talk about this idea that there are no rules to your creative game. Right? The rules that you're playing to are based on somebody else's lifestyle. It's based on what other people have been living by. So let's dive into it. There's this whole idea that there's a wrong or right way to do something. And that idea stems from receiving approval. Right? We want to know that this is the right thing to do. And where does that come from? That comes from a young age. That comes from a program, and some of it comes from a program of school, where in school there's only one right answer. So think about that. You're having a test, it's either a right answer or a wrong answer. It programs us to believe that we have to study this information and we have to regurgitate it in the way we need to so we can pass this test. We all know real life isn't like that. There's lots of gray areas in creativity. A lot of my successes have come from mistakes. I'm not sure if you know the story of how I made Warhead, but the big bass sound in one of my biggest tunes ever was made by me pulling out a lead. That was when you had desks, right? You pulled out a lead and I touched the lead and it made this big buzzing sound. And when that big buzzing sound came out of the speakers, I was like, what? And I sampled that and that became the big bass sound in one of my most successful tunes. But it was an iconic sound that stood out, that everybody was like for years trying to figure out how I did, but it wasn't planned. It came from a mistake. So if there was a wrong or right answer, I would have ended up thinking, oh, I can't use that. That's not technically right to do. I should make a bass line sound like this in this synth because that's what everybody else does. And I would have missed it. Fortunately enough, because of the way that we were making music at that time, we abandoned all the rules. I've been able to use that mindset throughout my career. But think about where you are thinking that there's a right way and a wrong way to do something. And who said that? Who told you that there's a right or a wrong way to do your creativity? What boundaries are you playing within that are telling you that the bass should like this, should look and sound like this, or my designs should fit into this box, or my songs should sound like this singer, or the lyrics that I'm writing for my poems should fit into this box, right? It's all smoke and mirrors. Because the reality of it is, when we see people who break out of these boxes, who really shock us with their creativity, their art forms, whatever it is, and we look at them and think, my God, that's dope, that's amazing. What are they doing? They broke out of these boxes. They're not playing by the rules. They don't care whether it's wrong or right. And if you're in a creative field, and it might be a bit harder to do if you're in a business and there's constraints in the business that you may be working for, but in your own business, you can surely do this. Where is it that you can go outside of the box, outside of the edges? Where is it where you can, take a step back and really, just experiment, right? If there's no rules, you can experiment. If there's no wrong or right way, you can afford to just step outside the lines just to see what's going to happen. Here's another way to think about it. Deepak Chopra, I learned this from him. He said, think of all the bad things and all the good things that's come from it, and think of all the good things that's happened to you and all the bad things that's happened because of that. It kind of opens your mind up to take a step back and to stop putting labels on things, labels on your experiences, and then just recognizing that you are having an experience. You can label it however you want, but in my mind, the way I think about it is it useful? Does this help me get what I want by thinking like this? Thinking like X. And so think about where is this thing where you're thinking, oh, there's a right way to do it, there's a wrong way. For me to be a part of this community, I have to do this, X. Right? When you think like that, and you think that, oh, I'm not ready for it, or I don't have the right X, or don't look the part, or sound the part, or they'll never like me because X. Like, you got to take a step back. You're in the right and wrong, the good or the bad mindset of thinking that you have to be perceived or behave in a certain way to be accepted. That could be the thing that's holding you back. That could be the thing that's stopping you from really taking the next stride that's going to get you to the next, whatever that you consider the next level of your journey, your career, your project, whatever it is holding you back. I can pretty much guarantee it's a language thing. How you're describing it, what you're saying about yourself, and it's become this self-fulfilling prophecy. What you consistently say over and over and over again, the body will follow through, the mind will follow through. Oh, that doesn't look right, that doesn't feel right. They won't like me. Who won't like you? Whose approval do you require for you to be yourself? Right? So think about that. Don't play by other people's rules. You know, as a creator, the most potent force that you have is your own sense of self, your own capabilities to be creative. And there are, like, we all know there's no rules to creativity. We know there's no limit to that creativity. And so I gave you a hint of this just now. It's like, there's no rules, or there's no one to get their approval for you to be yourself. And so if you can tap into whatever it is that you do really well, and you have the confidence, majority of us are uncomfortable being ourselves, because that means we're slightly different from all the people around us. That makes us uncomfortable. We have a need to fit in and to be part of a group. That kind of goes against this whole idea of being yourself in a way, but it is a powerful thing for you to step into, right? The deeper aspect of it is you can't get to the top of your own game by following somebody else. It's just not going to work. It's an easy way to stay comfortable, but you're never going to get to the next level, because you're always going to wait for the person in front of you to do the work, to change, to give you the signal to tell you it's okay to be yourself. So you're always going to be playing catch up. To stand in your own space, to stand in your own uniqueness, that takes courage, right? And that takes a certain type of mindset, a certain type of attitude that you can develop over time. Some people are born like it. Some people rebel against it and they become it. And some people just learn it, and some people don't. And so there are certain times when you're more like it than others. But you'll always know what your limit is when push comes to shove. And you know, and I see it with creators who I work with when they're making music, and I can see the point where they're just about to break out that pattern and they're going to do something really different, something really unique, and I can see their body shudder because they're realizing they're about to leave the pack. And this is a primal thing that affects everybody at some point or other, because as pack animals, we want to be liked, we want to be accepted by the crew, accepted by the clan, and part of that, as being an individual, as being a creative who stands out and does their own thing, it kind of goes against that. And so this whole thing about, you know, don't play by other people's rules, it's like this whole idea, how are you going to get to that next level, right? How are you going to figure out how to play your own game? How are you going to go against everything that you know works, everything around you that provided that security and safety? You've got to detach from it. That's where it's challenging for creatives. That's why it's challenging, because the fear that comes up is, what if this doesn't work? Well, the antidote to that is to ask yourself the question, what if this could work? You know, what would my life be like if this was successful? Or this opened up a new door for me? See, we are pre-programmed to think of the worst possible outcome. And so it stops us from exploring all these other outcomes. It stops us from exploring all these different ways of thinking, all these different ways of doing what it is that could potentially change our lives. And so admittedly, I'm throwing in some big themes for just an hour's one-way conversation, and we can, take this conversation to the community, the Adaptacanvas community. There's a link in the bio and the link on the Facebook page, and we can carry on these themes. There's lots of posts on there where you can really dive in, and we can have a two-way conversation. But for now, I'm just trying to give you some clear pointers on some steps that you can start taking. Start looking at yourself, start looking at what it is that you're doing, why you aren't where you want to be. What are the beliefs that you hold to be true that aren't true? Remember, a lot of the stuff that we've bought into hasn't been stress tested. We just believe it because that's the way people around us act, behave, and it's their beliefs. Think about the environment you grew up with, in your house with. What was the religion in that house? You automatically bought into it. You didn't have a choice. Growing up in that house, you just had the same religion or spiritual system as the people that were your caregivers. And then you may have started to rebel. You may have started to think, start to choose your own thing. You started to stress test it because you're like, this doesn't make sense to me. This is the same beliefs and thinking that needs to happen with your own creativity, with your own art, with the beliefs that you're holding to be true. If you've been checking out things that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, it's imperative that we start to expand our mindsets because of what's going to be coming down the line in the next 5 to 10 years. Totally different. We're going to have to learn some new skills. And the people who can learn how to learn will be the ones who make progress fastest. And that means to be able to clear out the cobwebs, clear out the old ideas, move away from the unproductive thoughts that do not give you the results that you want in your life. And they start with deconstructing the lies and the limiting beliefs that we've just blindly accepted without evidence, without proof, that are holding our creativity back, that are holding us in jobs, into roles that don't give us the lifestyle we want, that are making us feel like somebody else is more equipped or better than us. And just because we're afraid to really be ourselves. Maybe there was an instant when you were younger where you were free and you were expressing yourselves and someone said, stop being silly, or who do you think you are, or calm down, or the get back in your pram. And it was like you were just expressing yourselves. I know I've experienced that when I was younger. I was just fun-loving kid expressing myself. I didn't know I was showing off. I just was talented and I was expressing that talent. And it upset some elders and they made some comments to me and it kind of shocked me. I was like, whoa, that's not acceptable behavior. No, they were just uncomfortable with a young kid who was talented. And that stays with you. And maybe something similar has happened to you. You maybe did some piece of art or design or something and someone poo-pooed it. And, they might not have thought it was a big deal, but to a young, impressionable mind, that's a big deal. And that stays with us. Don't share your ideas. Don't seek approval from XYZ. My work isn't any good. Now you doubt yourself. And so these programs are running unconsciously. And as creatives, the first thing I said on this call tonight is like, as creatives, what do we get paid for? Our ideas. And where do our ideas come from? Out there in our imagination, right? And your imagination is tightly connected with your emotional connection with your surroundings. And if you can't get into your emotions and get that connection with your surroundings, that sensitivity that you've tuned into is tuned into other people's ideas of what you're capable of, you will always dampen down your most creative and potent ideas to fit in with everybody else's, because to shine means it's a threat and a problem to other people. And as soon as they start seeing you're shining, they're going to put you down. And a lot of this is the story that we tell ourselves, but as a creative and as a creators, you got to get out of that mindset and you got to wake up to these stories that we're playing ourselves. You can't limit yourself to other people's rules, and this could be other people's games, other people's ideas of what creativity and standards are. It's other people's ideas and not yours. Think about it. Have you actually sat down and created your own blueprint for what you consider success to be? Have you sat down and created a template of all the things that you consider to be a high standard of creativity, of art? Have you sat down and figured out what it means to you to get your life to the next level? And so if you haven't done all of that, what other standards and rules and limitations you're living by? Like, you really got to break this stuff down. If you're just like going through the motions and you're not clear on what that is, then who are you listening to? Who are you obeying? How do you know what success is for you? How do you know when you've reached it? How do you know when to ask for help? How do you know when to go to that next level? And so it's like something to do, to sit down and to just write out, this is what success looks like to me. When I have this, and this, I will feel like, yeah, it's a reality check. That's right. It's like, I'll feel like, I'm making progress. Because in actuality, before we go any further, success is a trap. The way that success is promoted in our society, it's like it's the end thing that you need to get to. It's not. It's a trap. The majority of people who create amount of success, they will tell you that that's not what it's about. People who create lots of money, successful businesses, or reach the top of the mountain, they'll tell you that that wasn't it. That's not what they were going for. And they have to reevaluate what it is that they actually want, because success isn't a destination. It's something you do, you get better at it. It's a process. You learn and you grow and you strive and you become better at the skill set that you're doing. And eventually you get to something called progress. You get to something called fulfillment. And success is part of that process, but it's not the end result. And why is it a problem? Because the majority of people, when they get to a place where they consider it success, they stop doing what they did to get there. And all of a sudden, everybody else catches up. They get complacent. They get a big lump of money, let's say. And then all of a sudden, they start living this comfortable life. But then reality moves on and they become out of touch. And now they play catch up for the rest of their lives because the money runs out. Fame is fleeting. And so if you don't keep up with understanding creativity, art, business, and the trends, then you end up being the victim of your own success, because when complacency kicks in, people get lazy. They think this success thing is going to last forever. The money runs out because you try to live the same lifestyle you did while you were peaking at success. Of course you could afford it. You're working 14 hours a day, being paid £10,000 a day. You can afford to live that lifestyle. But the minute you take your foot off the gas, or you don't actually understand how to transform the thinking so that you can upskill and go to another level, everything changes. And no one tells you this until you get to that level, or until you get a coach, or until you get a mentor. People aren't sharing this stuff, and you certainly ain't going to learn this on YouTube or looking at posts on Instagram or anything like that. People aren't sharing that bit because that's the bit that they don't want to talk about because it doesn't feel great. Hey, I just managed to get to the top of my industry, but you know what? It was hell. I was working 20 hours a day. I wasn't seeing my family, or my relationship almost collapsed, my health deteriorate. Like, who wants to read that on a post, right? But that's the reality that a lot of people who really strive for success go through. I'm not going to get into this whole work-life balance thing because that's another myth as well that needs to be dispelled. But there's ways to do it so that you can create a life that is in flow. And I would use the word flow rather than balance. And, I understand all this because I crashed and burned in my late 30s or early 40s, where I was just pedal down, go, 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 go. And it works for a certain amount, but it didn't work as a long-term strategy. So I learned the hard way. And if you know my story, I took 7 years out, rebuilt myself, launched 2 new companies, and, it worked out for me. But I'm not without the war wounds and the reality of what it takes to create and sustain a career. And that's why I'm doing this Adaptacanvas and talking to you guys, because I know firsthand what it's about. I've been through starting from nothing, building companies, losing companies, building them again, going through my own turmoil and my own traumas and anxieties and stresses to come out the other side with a coaching and transformation company to help other creators who were going through a similar story as I went through. So there are different ways to do it. And so what I'm trying to do with these live streams and with my coaching platform is really help creators out there dispel a lot of the myths that aren't challenged. And that's the thing that I really want to get to, you guys. It's about challenging the status quo. It's about challenging the norm. It's about asking the tough questions. It's about setting standards, having goals, having a vision, and stepping into it. And then understanding that there's going to be give and take. There's going to be sacrifices and consequences. But if you're prepared for it, if you're set with a skill set and asking questions, focused, determined, direction, you can achieve it. Most of us, including myself, when we started, we were just this one way or no way. Some of us managed to get through, some of us failed, some of us didn't get through, some of us gave up. But there are ways to do it. There are ways to achieve it. And we have to keep going through a lot of this stuff that's being perpetuated by the media to sell papers, not to promote health and wellness or career advice to people. A lot of it's just to sell information. So it's our job to sift through that and to find the gems, to find the people that we can trust to look and say, look, I'd see that person. They've gone through something similar to me. Next point is define what success means to you. And like I said, success isn't the destination. Fulfillment is the destination. Success is part of the program that gets you there. Success is about how you determine your work rate. Success is about how you determine what your family's like. This success is what you determine the actions that you accomplish throughout the day. Did that work? Was that successful? Did I accomplish the tasks that I set out I was going to do? Always the big goal is preceded by thousands of little steps. We chunk them down and we do loads of those steps over a period of time, and then we get to the big goal, this big dream, right? And so what does success mean to you? What are the goalposts? What are the pillars? What are the markers that you have decided that once you reach them, you're going to feel like you've reached, like you made it, this is where you were headed, right? This is the destination. So success is the direction you're heading in. You want to be successful at it. You want to be executing your tasks at the highest level every day. You want to feel like you're committed and you're using all your resources in a way that add to, the lifestyle, the expression, the ideas and the actions that you want every day. And you want to do that in a successful way, all right? And if you do that continually over a period of time, guess what? You get the thing that you set out for. That's the reward, right? But it doesn't stop there. I made that mistake. I got to a certain level in my career and I thought, yeah, I got the house, I got the car, I got the money, da 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 da. I took my foot off the gas a bit, and as soon as I did that, it didn't end well for a long time. It took a long time to really re-engineer my life. It wasn't like, 25 years ago, it wasn't like it is now. The amount of media that we have access to and information that we have access to, it wasn't like that. So there wasn't many peers around me who were doing what I considered the next thing in their career. They didn't have a career trajectory, they didn't have a career ladder, and they didn't have something I could look to and say, as a model, and say, you know what, I like that. I'm gonna, figure out how to achieve that. Now it's way more easier. Now there's lots of people out there sharing this information. So decide for yourself what it is that you want. Decide for yourself what the markers are going to be, so when you do get there, it's visible. Lots of people say they want this thing, but they haven't set themselves a marker to say, look, when I get to this marker, I'll know I'm on track. We just say, yeah, I want this thing, or I don't want, or I don't. I'm not even clear what the thing is. I'm just grinding. Grinding for what? When's the grind going to end? Because it's not a strategy, just grinding. Yeah, I'm just making beats. For what end? Oh, just so I can get booked for how many? Booked for what? How long are you going to keep that strategy up? Because you'll burn out. You just keep trying to get making tunes just for the weekend. How many more weekends are you going to make tunes for? Oh, I don't know. Until I get booked. Until I got a year's worth of bookings. Well, I can tell you firsthand that's a terrible strategy. And the minute you get a year's worth of bookings, you'll stop making music. Or at least the quality of your music will start to reduce, because that's not the strategy either. Get a clear idea of what it is that you're going for, what the idea of success that means to you. What does it look like? Get clear on it. Get as much detail. Draw pictures. Have mood boards. Rip images out of magazines. This is where in 5 years, this is where I'm going to be. And once I get there, I'll reevaluate, and then I'll look at the next 5 years to where I want to be. Because that's not it. That's just pit stop one. And that's just telling me that everything I've used, and the strategies and the mindset and the tools and things that I've practiced created the person that I am, so that I could create this. And then once I get there, then I'll create the next vision. But you'll do it seamlessly. You'll have this clear idea, so you'll know it's coming up to this marker. How am I doing? Oh, I'm pretty much on target. So now let's go to the next stage. You want to keep that momentum up. Sure, you can have breaks. Sure, you can go away for a bit and regroup and meditate. Take some time out, get the body back together, get the mind back together. But it's important to have these markers so you can clearly identify what the stages are, that you are defining what success means. Not what society says, not what your friends say, not what YouTube says, not what Facebook says, not what I say. Like, your version of success comes from what you say it is. Like, and spend some time on that. You know, really take a step back and figure out, what does success mean to me? You know, and check yourself. Have I just been following what Facebook or Instagram says success is? Now really tune into that. Does your success look like a TikTok reel or an Instagram reel? Have you just got these pictures of all these things that people say you need to have so you will be successful? You know, it's a real exercise, because it can free you. It can really loosen up a lot of stuff that people are struggling with, because they think because their life doesn't look like an Instagram post, they're not where they want to be. And it's like, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous, thinking and believing like that. You've got to really take a step back, because you could actually be living this lifestyle that you decided a lot way quicker than you could think and believe, just by changing your mindset and moving your focus on something that is your dream and not somebody else's dream. Because the goalposts could be a lot closer for you to strike a goal in, because the things that you want could be more available. Right? The things that you're dreaming about and asking, they could be so far unattainable, and the stress and the agony of not receiving it, of not getting it, could be the reason why you're not in your flow state. Why you're not tuned into your own vision, why you're not listening to your own intuition, why you're not tuned into your own imagination. And when all that's out of whack, you're not tuned in. You're not in flow, you're not in harmony, you're not listening to your intuition. You're just responding to the environment. That isn't the state to be in to receive your own blessings. That's quite a low vibrational state. To wake up every day and keep looking around, noticing what everybody else has. You don't want to be that person. And that's because you're tuning into what everybody else tells you you should have. You're looking at your Instagram feed, my life doesn't look like that. Well, guess what? 99.9% of the people on that feed, their lives don't look like that either. And so you're just buying into this fake idea of what success is. It's like, what does success mean? Well, success might mean I wake up every day, take my children to school, I come home, I do 3-4 hours of work, I go for a walk in the park with my dog, I come home, I spend 2-3 hours with my family, my partner, you know, I meditate, and I go to the gym. Boom, successful day. You do that for 3 or 4 years, You run your business like that, you create enough income, create enough lifestyle for yourself, boom. It could be that simple. And then you could figure out, what do I want to do next? What skills do I need to learn within the stuff that I'm excited about so that I can get that dream house or that bigger, go on that epic holiday or the trip around the world. Like, these are stages and steps that you can work towards. But having this fantasy about thinking the feeds are real, that's the game. Understand this. If you're on a platform that's free, you are the product. Right? And that's just a famous saying that people who understand the tech game know. Like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all these platforms where it's free, we are the products because we are the ones giving them our attention. Do you honestly believe that it's in those platforms' best interest to tell you the truth? Right? Or is it in their best interest to keep you on those platforms as long as possible, scrolling, doing the scroll of death? They have psychologists, they have physicists, they have experts who are designing these platforms so that we are addicted to them. Most of us are waking up now, but remember back in the day when it was super addictive, when these things first came out and you were just on it all the time. Think about it. How much did your life improve by liking other people's posts or having your post liked? Like, where did that get you? Right? So it's time to change. It's time to look at these platforms for exactly what they are and start to shift away from them, build your own business, build your own platform. I mean, that's another conversation we can get into. But join the community. Go to the link in my bio. Go to the pin post on Facebook. Join my creator community where we're taking these conversations a lot deeper. These are for conversations that we can have where it's two-way. So we're doing Zooms and we're breaking down ideas, concepts. It's way more fluent than this situation right now. This is just me speaking. Join the community. We can all communicate. You can create your own profile there and you can really dive in and ask lots of questions. So we pointed out just now, the next point was like success is a trap, right? And it's an ongoing process. So yeah, success is not the destination. Success is a process. Success is something you moving through towards the end goal, right? So define what that is to you and then start putting the pieces in place so you can start doing that for yourself. So overcoming your own limits is easier to follow what other people do because you don't have to actually face yourself, right? So when you have to overcome your own limits, that means you have to really dive into who and what you really are. And so this gets down to some deep psychological work. They call it shadow work, but this is really this idea is for you to develop into this person that you want to develop into. You've got to really figure out what's stopping you from doing that. And when you really dive into what's stopping you from doing that, it starts to bring up lots of uncomfortable stuff. So that's why it's easier for people to follow other people and be comfortable following other people. Be comfortable doing what they do, letting them go first. Oh, I'm not going to do it until so-and-so does it. And when they do it, you see, and it's safe to do it. It's okay to do it. Nothing happened to them. Nothing happened to them. So it must be okay, right? And the problem with that is you're living your life in this space where you're just not living your own life. You're not maximizing your own potential. You're not maximizing, because you think about who and what you are. You're unlimited, and I know we say this stuff a lot. You're unlimited. You're limitless. But what if that were true? What if that were true? What if you did have unlimited potential? What if you had unlimited, creativity? What if you had unlimited access to resources, creative resources, access to spiritual resources? Like, what if that were true? How different would your life be? And it's just something, you just entertain it. It doesn't have to be true, but what if it was true? Right? How different would your experience be? What would you do? What would you do differently? What questions would you ask? What positions would you be in? What area would you live in? What people would you interact with? What would your creative output be? Right? And when you start thinking like that, it just has to be enough for you to take some different actions. Right? Because if there's no wrong or right, then what do I need to do so that I can believe that I'm unlimited? What do I need to believe about myself that I'm all the resources are available to me? Right? And so these are just questions. These are the questions that break the binds, that break the illusion just enough so that you can put your toe in the door and just peek through the gap and see what opportunities are there for me. That's all you need. That's all the mind needs. The mind just needs a small opening to see what's the possibilities. And you need to give yourself that possibility, that new thinking, so that you can just etch through. And you do that with questions. What is the possibility that this new door can open and there's just a glimmer of hope? Most people have completely changed their life with such a tiny sliver of hope, tiny sliver of opportunity. You'd be surprised. It just opened up a new door, opened up a new way of thinking, a new pathway, choices, hope, expectation. Just a sliver. Think about the opportunities that you've taken that nobody else taken. And we've been there. Every single person on this planet has been there. They've had an opportunity that they thought wasn't going to happen. And they just thought, fuck it, I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to do it. And it yielded something amazing. And they used the word like luck or chance or, you know, whatever word that they used that didn't create the sense that they could repeat it. Oh, it just happened. It never happened again. Those type of words program us to believe that it was a fluke and it can't be repeated. Where in actuality, if you look at people who are lucky, they work on luck. They develop the skill of luck. They take actions every day to increase the amount of luck that they have. They don't use words like coincidence or I might or it could. They say it is happening, it has happened, I am making it happen, and it's happening because of me. Totally different mindset. It's up to you to choose the position that you want to be in, and it requires work that, you know, there has to be a payoff, okay? You cannot get where you want to get to in life without doing the work. It doesn't matter. And that's why we started with this whole myth of right and wrong, because in reality, there's just work. You might not like it, but you like the results that going to the gym gets you. When you're on the beach and everyone's admiring your body, that's the result, right? But spending an hour a day for 6 days in the gym, that's a commitment. Some people are developing their mindset, so they're reading, they're studying, they're meditating, they're visualizing, they're journaling, they're minding what they say, they're moving away from negative people, they're moving into different networks, they're reading books, they're taking notes, they're practicing, they're visualizing, they're holding back the words and the attitudes that aren't productive, and they are doing the work consistently every single day, and they're seeing results. That's the work. It doesn't come easy. And you have to think about, what is it that you want? Where do you want to be in your experience as a creator? And then ask yourself, am I doing the work every single day to make this a reality? Right? If you can say, yes, I'm doing the work every single day, and I'm still not seeing the results, keep going. Keep going. If you are saying, I've got this dream, but the work rate isn't there, that's why you're not there. There's no intensity. There's no work rate. There's no commitment. There's no focus. You say you're going to do something, but you're hanging out with your mates down the pub. You say you're going to go jogging at 6 o'clock in the morning, but at 9 o'clock in the morning, you pressing snooze. You say you're going to go to the gym and you're flicking through Netflix. So the work needs to be done. So the last point here is challenging. Do you use this language? I'm stuck. I'm blocked. It's hard, right? Could it be a new opportunity, a new door opening? Because we know for every action, there's an equal and opposite response. Is it that if you're stuck, the universe is showing you to turn the other way? Maybe. So there's a famous saying that there's a guy he goes to a door and he's pushing the door, he's pushing the door, he's pushing the door. Someone else comes past him and pulls the door towards him. Is that what you're doing with your life, with your opportunities? Are you continually wrestling with all these things that you're considering problems, looking one way continually instead of turning around and looking at what is the opportunity here? You know, am I really stuck, or is this an opportunity for me to do something different? Is this, because the language that we're using is a great indicator of what's actually occurring in our experience. When I work with my creatives, I'm listening to what people are saying, because that language denotes where they are in their experience. So if you just listen to the sentence, what I just said, that will tell you everything. The language denotes where they are in their experience. Right? It tells them whether they are using language to keep them stuck or they're using language to propel them forward. Like, it's all in the language patterns. And so think about how you are using the language to explain your experience no matter where you are. What's going on? What do you say to yourself every single day? And if you're playing the game by someone else's rules, the language patterns that we're using are the indicator for where people are on their journey, for where they are on their experience. The next level to that is understanding that this language could be an indication of not how far you are, but how close you are. Right? And it just takes that little bit of changing direction and being open to recognizing that, I might not be where I want to be right now, but maybe I can learn something from this. Maybe I can learn where to take this next. Maybe I can join a community and start sharing my ideas, and other people can start chiming in and giving me some little nuggets of wisdom that's going to help me maneuver through the maze. And so the language is an opportunity. This is how I see it. Whenever I'm starting to use language that isn't beneficial for me, I take a step back and I'll write down the sentence like, okay, cool. Well, where am I? So where am I on the journey? So here's the other thing to think about as well. If you've set a goal and you're experiencing resistance to getting that goal, that's good, right? That means that you're actually doing something towards getting that goal, making it happen. The resistance means you're making progress. And so if you've listened to me for the last hour and you've been nodding and saying, yeah, I'm in this, right? That means you're actually trying to do something about it. What? I'm experiencing all those things. I've been trying to get this thing for the last 6 months, the last year, but I haven't figured out how to crack this nut. I haven't figured out how to get through that maze. Then this stuff's for you. This is about you going through, like, checking off. Am I saying this is a wrong thing or a right thing? Am I judging myself? Am I judging my output? Am I judging the people around me? You know, am I really playing my own game? Have I tuned into what I think is what my skill set is, and am I tuned in? Am I focused on that? Have I defined my own stages of success, what I consider success? You know, am I thinking success is this destination, and when I get there, everything's going to work out, it's going to be perfect? Have I overcome my own limitations, or am I following other people because that's the safest thing to do and I don't have to risk anything? Am I using language like I'm stuck, I'm blocked? Am I blaming? Am I frustrated? Am I angry? So if you're noticing any of those patterns, you're on your way. You're making some kind of progress, right? Even if you just recognize that you are this person who's saying all this stuff, you could do something about it. The first stages in growth is awareness. The first stages in making progress is to deal with the truth. Yeah, my life isn't working. Great, we can do something with it. Stop being in denial. Stop living in the fantasy of trying to hope you're going to find a solution on Facebook or YouTube, or doing the scroll of death, or watching loads and loads of 5-minute videos. It's like eventually you're going to have to invest in yourself. Eventually you're going to have to invest in what is next for you. You just cannot do it like this content. Remember, content is what keeps you addicted to the platforms. It's not there. 90% of it isn't there to help you. You got to sift through it all and find the gems that really speak to you and lead you to this next thing. So, I hope this has been helpful for you guys. So I'm full of energy right now, full of beans. And I'm looking for my next cohort to join my Elevation Formula coaching platform, coaching group. So if that's you, if you're looking to build something, you've got a business idea, you've got a project idea, and you need that to be developed, I've got 2 to 3 spaces for the next 90 days. So join the Adaptacanvas community, book your call, your strategy call with me, and let's talk and let's figure out how I can help you get to that next level. Join the community, follow the link, join the community, lots of resources there, it's free. Join the newsletter at adaptacanvas.com, and I will be back next week for another episode of Adaptacanvas. Have a great week, and I will see you all next week for some more Adaptacanvas. Bye bye.